Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our weekly class on our Navigating Parenting platform. So happy that you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time to invest in yourself and in your relationship with your children. Whew, so good to be here. Okay, so let's get started. We had a class recently where we spoke about the differences between the empowerment parenting paradigm versus the power parenting paradigm. If you haven't watched that class, I recommend that you go back to it so that you can be really clear on the distinction between the two, because that's what we focused on for the entire class. Today, we are going to talk about how we can shift from being a parent that parents from a place of trying to gain power over our children, trying to gain control, to a place of feeling empowered. Wouldn't you love to feel like when you're in the middle of a challenge with your child, you feel empowered in the way that you're handling the situation? Many times as parents, when we seek to power over our children, right, to control the situation, it's simply because we don't know what else to do. We don't feel good in that moment, right? So it's not necessarily our first choice, but we're just looking for a solution because we need our child to go to school. We need them to do their homework. We need them to listen to us. We need them to, get ready for bed, whatever it might be that we need them to do in that moment. How cool would it be, instead of defaulting to the power pattern where we honestly lose energy, we don't feel good about ourselves, we feel depleted, we aren't actively building this like amazing, respectful relationship with our children. How cool would it be if we knew what to say, if we were able to feel empowered in that moment? What does that mean? That means, like, in that moment of conflict with my child, I am in power. I am stepping into my power as a parent, as a human being. I feel in control of my emotions. I don't really like the word in control. I know I just used it, but I feel like I am owning my emotions. My emotions aren't controlling me. My children aren't controlling my actions. When we're parenting from a place of trying to exert power over our children, we also usually end up parenting from a place where we are thinking to ourselves, well, kid, you're making me do this. It's because you're acting this way that I have to do X, Y, and Z. And if you would just act differently, then I, could be a different kind of parent. But guess what? We can't blame our children. We can't put the blame for how we parent on our children. In life, if we want to feel empowered and in control of our actions, then we have to understand that no one ever makes us feel a certain way. No one makes us do anything, and that's including our children. So when we want to parent from a place that is empowering for our kids, then we first have to feel empowered as human beings and as parents and as adults. And how cool, you totally, totally can. So how do we build this empowered relationship with our children? The first way we do that is by building an empowered relationship with ourselves as human beings and with ourselves as parents. So, okay, cool. I want to be empowered as a person. I don't want to give my power over to anyone or anything else. How do I do that? Okay, let's talk about it. So, the first step to feeling like an empowered parent, an empowered person, is owning our feelings and our emotions. Owning our feelings and our emotions. We can't blame any person for how we feel. We can't. Nobody makes us feel any sort of way. People do things that will trigger us 100%. But the most empowering thing to do, and it's going to sound like contradictory, right? It's empowering to take responsibility for anything that's happening in my life. Yes, it is. Because when you do, you realize, wait a second, I cannot allow that situation to make me feel bad, to make me feel a certain way, because when I do, I give over my power to them. I lose my power. I'm no longer in control of my own life. Someone else is controlling me. And that is not a fun place to live in and be in, because when we allow someone else to dictate how we're going to feel today, most likely we will rarely feel good except for those, sweet moments when we're getting approval or someone is giving us something that we want or making us feel a certain way. So the first part of becoming an empowered parent, having an empowered relationship with our children, which looks like a relationship based on communication, a relationship where the child knows they are loved unconditionally, where a child knows that, they are respected, that they're trusted, where our children will cooperate with us. The first step to doing that is allowing ourselves to have our own feelings, to have our own emotions, and to accept them and to own them. One of the key reasons we as people will say that someone made me feel a certain way is because it's very hard for us to feel comfortable with our uncomfortable emotions and feelings. It is very, very hard for us as people to feel comfortable with our uncomfortable emotions and feelings because we have been conditioned to believe that those uncomfortable emotions and feelings are bad and wrong. And there's something wrong with us when I feel angry or frustrated or scared or sad or depressed or anxious. Okay. And the list goes on and on and on. If there's something wrong with me when I feel any of those things, then of course I'm going to look for a scapegoat. Of course I'm going to look for someone to blame because I don't want to admit and own and what are people going to think about me if I have like these uncomfortable feelings that are not accepted and they're not okay. Where did those uncomfortable and like where does that belief come from that those feelings are not okay? It can come from childhood, it comes from society, right? Now, when we parent over our children, when we try to control the way they're behaving from a place of power, we end up withholding love, unintentionally even, end up withholding love, end up withholding acceptance, end up withholding appreciation for our children in those moments that they are feeling really uncomfortable, in those moments that are really challenging for them. And what does that teach them? That those uncomfortable emotions are not okay. When we parent from a place that is looking to control, looking to parent over our children, we are saying, you are having a challenging moment right now. You're not allowed to have those challenging moments, and you have to listen to me, and we're going to figure out how you're going to do it. Even if that means I'm withholding this love and this emotion, these like good vibe, high vibe emotions from you, I'm going to get you to do what I need you to do right now. This is what we teach our children, and this is what we learned as people. Okay. So the first step to being an empowered parent is owning our uncomfortable feelings, not looking to place them on anyone else, and especially not on our kids. But guess what? When we can own our uncomfortable feelings, it sounds like kind of crazy, but when we can own our uncomfortable feelings, when we're comfortable with our uncomfortable feelings, it is the most empowering thing that we could ever do. When we're really ready and when we really accept that uncomfortable feelings aren't a bad thing, they're actually a good thing. Because what are they doing? They're showing us an area in our life where there's growth available to us, an area of our life where we can actually become more happy, more fulfilled, draw even more blessings and abundance into our life. Then we realize like, wow, okay, that's all uncomfortable feelings are. They're a signal for us that there's something for me to work on and uncover and grow through. And then I can feel really empowered from them. Because, okay, right? The universe is giving me, like serving to me on a silver platter, this ability to become more empowered. When I own my uncomfortable feelings, when I accept them, when I'm okay with them, and I say, I'm human, I'm okay with those uncomfortable feelings, you're actually going to feel really empowered and great. And it's going to change your whole perception. The whole way that you view those uncomfortable feelings, you're going to be like on fire. Like, yeah, I own this. I rock this. I'm in charge of my life. I'm not blaming anyone anymore. And I'm not blaming my children. This is one of the key ways to change your relationship with your children. Because the reason why, as parents, we go to parenting from a place of power is because we don't know what else to do. We are feeling uncomfortable and we want to try to regain control of the situation. So in those uncomfortable moments, what do? My child is freaking out and tantruming. What reactions does that make you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? Notice it and own it and be okay with it. It's so empowering to not be embarrassed about how we feel, to not think there's something wrong with us, because it's really frustrating. It is really hard when our kids don't listen to us. It is. It's really hard when they don't cooperate, especially when it's in public, or especially when we have to get them somewhere really quickly and they're not cooperating. It's infuriating. It brings up so much. So we want to understand that it's okay that it's bringing up all those feelings, number one, right? And it's okay that you're feeling that way. Number two, you're allowed to feel, you're allowed to be upset, and you don't need to put those emotions on anyone else. Being an empowered parent is understanding, like, I have those emotions and I'm going to be okay with it. There's nothing wrong with those, really. And I'd like to ask you, what's wrong? What's really wrong with having uncomfortable emotions? Chat me, let me know if there's something you really think is wrong with having uncomfortable emotions. It could be that we think that, it's going to make us turn into a bad person, or our children, if they're really angry, they're going to have like all different sorts of challenges throughout life. So what do? We just tell them they have to stop being angry. But does that make the emotion go anywhere? Absolutely not. It just stays stuck, right? So when we want to parent from an empowered place, the first step is noticing our feelings. But the second step is allowing them to be, giving ourselves the space to move through them, giving our children the space to feel those emotions. Because the more we can allow our children to feel their emotions, the more we allow ourselves to feel our emotions, to be okay with our emotions, then we become empowered. We gain our confidence, right? There's nothing, if we have the self-talk that if I'm getting angry or frustrated right now because my child is doing something wrong, there's something wrong with me that I'm feeling like that, we're not going to feel empowered. We feel bad about ourselves. And that's the opposite of feeling empowered, right? So if we want to learn how to really create an empowered relationship with our children, we first as parents need to feel empowered. And the first way to feel empowered is to not give our power away, to not give our energy away, to take the time to notice when we have those hard feelings and be able to accept them, sit with them, and then talk to them, feel them, allow them to just, take up your space in your body, feel it. And you will see that if you can do that, a lot of times that hard feeling will actually just kind of dissipate. Because what we're doing in that moment is we are not pushing away. When we resist something, we don't deal with it. We just push it away. It will always come back. But if we allow those difficult feelings if we allow ourselves to sit with them, what happens is we feel them, and then they just go away. Because what are they? They're feelings. They're not who we are as human beings. Because I'm angry, it doesn't make me an angry person. I'm feeling angry, but that doesn't make me an angry person. And feelings are human. We're all supposed to feel. If we don't feel, then that's a bigger sign of something, right? We're supposed to feel things. It's good to feel frustrated. It's good to feel annoyed. It's letting you know that there's something that's not in alignment with your value system right now. There's something that's not going the way that you'd like it to go, and it's showing you like, hey, there's a level of growth. Now here's another key important, amazing point that can change your whole dynamic with your kids. When we're having a challenging moment with our kids and all those big feelings arise, if we want to feel empowered, we want to give our children the space to feel, give ourselves the space to feel, and understand that challenging moments are actually the best source of moments of connections with our children. When we are going through a challenge and we feel all sorts of uncomfortable feelings, if we want to be empowered, we say, hey, wait a minute, this situation is not going to control me. I am going to own this situation. I am going to say, hey, this uncomfortable situation is going to be the best point of connection between me and my children. Because it's when our kids are in a place where they're not feeling awesome, right? This is when they really need us the most. And unfortunately, a lot of times, this is when we turn against each other because we don't know what to do. We don't know how to handle it. These are the points where we can build the strongest connection with our children. In the moments of adversity, in the moments of seemingly disconnect, is when we can find our way back to each other and build the strongest connection ever with ourselves and with our children. And we can then parent from an empowered place. When we don't turn away from those uncomfortable moments, when we don't run away from them. How do we run away? When we parent from a place of power. When we just seek to fix really quickly, we're running away. When we just seek to figure it out or to put a Band-Aid on it or to leave the room, we're literally running away. Moments that look like the most disconnected moments can become the most connected moments. And then what happens when you as a parent are able to turn a situation around that looks awful into an amazing moment of connection, you will feel the most empowered you will ever feel. You will be walking on clouds, walking on water, walking on whatever it is that makes you feel like you are flying. And I'm going to share a personal example with you. Just last night, I posted about this on Instagram. We were baking Hamantaschen together. Hamantaschen is like a triangle-shaped cookie that you make for the holiday of Purim, which is coming up tonight. And I was so excited about this baking activity that we were going to do all together. My kids were really excited. We spoke about it in the morning before they went off to school. They came home. They were like ready to go. And as we started to bake together, things started to coming up. My daughter wanted to mix more ingredients than her brother. She was getting really upset about the fact that she couldn't like totally take control of the situation. We have two other kids that also wanted to bake, and it had to be fair. Really upset her. She stormed out. Later on, we finally got the dough made, and we're rolling out the dough and cutting the shapes, and you put some filling in the cookie before you pinch it into a shape of a triangle. And she had in her mind the way that she wanted to do like a train. So her brother rolls out the dough, she cuts the shape, he puts the filling, and she makes it into a triangle. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to also, cut the shapes. She lost it. It was so hard for her to not have the cookie making going the way that she wanted it to go. She had something in her mind, I guess, that she felt like this was the best way to make the cookies, and she wanted it done that way. And it was so hard for her that it wasn't getting done that way. So she was like freaking out, really, really lost control, so upset. Now, in that moment, I could have yelled at her, sent her to her room, told her she cannot make cookies with us, tried to figure out a way to fix the situation in the moment. That would be parenting from a place of power. Why? Because I'm trying to control the situation. I'm trying to assert my authority and let you know that what you're doing is not okay. Daughter, talking about my daughter. What did I do? And I'm so grateful. It's not me doing it. It's the fact that I have these tools and I'm constantly learning and growing through my conscious parenting tools. And that's what I'm offering here on this platform. What did we do? I just allowed her to express herself. She was crying, like really upset and crying and angry. And I felt myself starting, to go to different places. And I said, you know what? No, right? Like, I noticed my feelings. I noticed that I was feeling bad for my son, who she was kind of like trying to power over him. I felt really bad for her. I almost was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing wrong? But no, we're not doing anything wrong. Those moments when our children have big feelings does not mean we're doing anything wrong. On the contrary. Kids that don't have big feelings, don't express big feelings, I worry more about them because they're just holding them all inside, most likely. And that's a different discussion, right? Like how to help our children who hold in emotions learn how to express them. But what did I do? I reminded myself, it's okay. She's feeling really frustrated. She's feeling really angry. It's okay that I'm talking to myself, that I have emotions around it, but allow them, no big deal. And actually I was able really quickly to let them go, to be like, okay, big emotions, part of it, life. Yes. Okay. I'm going to be an empowered parent right now. How do I do that? I sat there with her. I held her hand. She was okay with that. And I let her just freak out. Her face was red. She was so angry, like clenching her fists, crying, so upset she couldn't regain control over herself. I just told her, you've got this. You can do it. You've got this. You can do it. I didn't tell her to calm down. I didn't tell her how she should be behaving. I just let her know that I am here with you and you've got this and you can do it. This is parenting from an empowered place. Why? I felt awesome afterwards. What happened? She actually calmed down. Her energy level totally calmed down. She really relaxed. And the rest of the night was like seamless. It was amazing. She did. I was so proud of her because she calmed down. She did it. And afterwards I told her, Mimi, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of how you handled that. And she's like, Mommy, I couldn't have done it without you. You're the one who helped me. I said, no way. I can't force you to be calm. We cannot force our children to calm down. We can't force them to behave a certain way. We can be there supporting them, guiding them, holding their hand, letting them know we are here for them and allowing them the space to express. But first, we have to allow ourselves the space to express. And you know how I felt after that? I felt like an awesome, empowered parent. I felt so good because that moment created an amazing moment of connection between me and my daughter. An amazing moment of connection. She learned to self-regulate. Yes, she had to get really angry to do it, but that's how we do it. We go through our emotions. We allow our children to just be there with their uncomfortable, really uncomfortable in this case, emotions. And we have to allow ourselves to go through those uncomfortable emotions. This is how we parent from an empowered place. Because when I wasn't angry at myself and I wasn't angry at her and I just allowed both of us to go through our emotions, it was so empowering because the energy relaxes, it calms down. And we just built so much trust with each other. She felt loved through that process. She felt appreciated and cared for through that process. And this led me to feel empowered. And this is how we empower our children. This is how she felt me there with her. And this is what we want to do. This is how we build empowered relationships with our children. This is how we become empowered parents. Thank you so much for joining in for today's class. As a reminder, on Monday, we have our monthly Q&A. So please send me any questions that you might have. And I will see you back next Thursday for our next weekly class. Have a wonderful day.